Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella.
This past year and a half has been a little bit crazy and hard to predict and hard to control. And so in my personal life, I've done everything I can to try to manage what I can control. So a couple of things I went to work on were the books that I read. I set a reading goal of reading a book a week. I also changed my workout routine and some of my health habits because I knew in the midst of all these things that were unpredictable and things I couldn't control, that was one thing I had control over in my life. So I set a goal of 3 to 5 times a week, and it actually went pretty well. I felt very in control. But I will admit that started to lead me down a road of kind of wanting to control everything. I don't like to think of myself as a control freak, but I will admit, I wanted to be the king of my own castle, and I wanted to be able to say everything is exactly this way. But the reality of life is that we can't control everything, right? Not everything is within our control. And I think there's wisdom and value in controlling the things that we can control. But it's what do we do with that extra that we can't control? Do we continue to try to bang our head against the wall or do weird things to reach out for that control in those spaces that we don't have a chance to control? And I'm telling you this because I think today I want to talk about one part of the Christmas story that we very rarely focus on. At least it's a part that we tell, but we don't kind of put the mirror in front of us. This is the story of the villain in the Christmas story, King Herod. And King Herod's story is actually one of fear and control. And I would say you could even add power into that. And sometimes in our faith, because we feel special and chosen, and because we believe in Jesus, that we think sometimes that gives us power and control. And I want to challenge us this year to really be on the lookout for those places that we are trying to make power grabs and control things. Because when we do that, we become the villain in the story. And so, a reminder, we've been telling the story of Christmas through this new book, The Wandering Wise Men, by Eric and Meredith Scrotenborg. And I just think it's a great way to take some of the things that we've heard over and over and over and put them in a little bit different package so that we might be able to see ourselves in the Christmas story and really enjoy Christmas and what it means to our faith this year. So we're going to pick up in the story where the wise men have come to Judea. They have arrived at King Herod's kingdom. So the story says, the wise men came to Judea where all the roads finally led. Let's go up to Jerusalem, the weary wise men said. King Herod the Great was famous for his buildings, tall and grand. But many people feared this king who ruled over all the land. Up to Herod's palace they went with caravan in tow, to find out straight from Herod all that he might know. Where's the child who's been born, this brand new Jewish king? We saw his star up in the sky. We have gifts to bring. And when Herod heard all their questions, he was worried and upset. I'm the king of Judea, and no one should forget. He called the chief priests together and the teachers of the law. They opened up the word of God and told him what they saw. A ruler will rise from Bethlehem, the priests and teachers warned. He'll shepherd God's people, Israel, this child who's been born. So Herod called the 3 wise men in hopes they would agree. Find this child in Bethlehem and then report to me. I want to worship this child too and bring a gift of my own. But Herod was planning all along to save his royal throne. And I think if like I said, in the Christmas story, we rarely spend time thinking about the villain. Herod is the inciting incident to Mary and Joseph fleeing. There's a collection of a census and all these things involved in this story, and we just kind of pass over it. But for some reason, this Wandering Wise Men book really just shone a light on my life and saying, Mark, where are the places that you're grasping for control, where you want all the power and you want to manage your kingdom and have your throne, have it exactly the way that you want. And so for all of us, I think that's the challenge, is in what ways this Christmas season, obviously we survived by calendars and making sure that we have all of our lists made and all of the lists crossed off. But in what ways are we trying to own control and be the hero of the story instead of letting God be the one that is bringing us peace and joy throughout all of this? And as I was looking for a verse that I felt like mapped onto this well, instead of just reading the same exact part from the Christmas story out of the Bible, what really resonated with me was 1 John 4, 18 through 21, because it talks about this fear. And when there's fear in our hearts and there's fear in our lives, then we behave accordingly, rather than when there's grace and joy and excitement and hope. So it says, a real love for others will chase those worries away. So really seeing people and loving people and getting out of our own way. The thought of being punished is what makes us afraid. It shows that we have not really learned to love. We love because God first loved us. But if we say we love God and don't love each other, we are liars. We cannot see God. So how can we love God if we don't love the people we can see? The commandment that God has given us is love God and love each other. So this Christmas season, as we grasp for control and as we work really hard to really manage the things that we feel like we can control, let's not lose sight of the fact that it's not our job to control others. It's not our job to control the big picture. We are tasked with some things. The things that are within our control are just like that verse says, to love others, to see others and not judge others, but to invite them into an experience with God so that they could have the same thing, that joy and the hope that we have felt because we know the Christmas story and we know the story of Jesus. So this week in your faith, look for the thing that you can control, and that would be loving the people in your lives, the close people and the random people that you come into contact with. Let's show them the story of Christmas.
Thanks for watching Faith in 5. If you like what you see, please like and share. If you're interested in making a donation to our ministry, please click the link below.